I'm sitting in our apartment, her apartment now, I guess, staring at a wedding invitation with my name still on it. The venue's booked, the deposits are paid, and my fiancée. She hasn't answered my calls in 11 days. She said she needed space. I gave her space. What I didn't know was who she'd fill it with. Before I tell you how this all unraveled, do me a favor, hit that like button. Trust me, you're going to want to see where this goes. And subscribe, because stories like this, they don't end the way you think. So here's where it started. Sloan and I had been together for 4 years, engaged for 6 months. Everything felt solid, not perfect, but real. We had our routines: Friday takeout, Sunday farmer's market, the kind of life people post about and mean it. My brother used to joke that we were disgustingly functional. I took that as a compliment. Then about 3 weeks ago, we had this argument. Honestly, calling it an argument feels generous. We were planning the honeymoon and I suggested Greece. She wanted Bali. I said Greece was cheaper and we could save for a house. She said I was being practical to the point of boring. It stung a little, but I laughed it off, told her we'd figure it out. That night she was quiet, distant. I thought she was just tired. The next morning she sat me down at the kitchen table with this look on her face, like she'd been rehearsing something. She said she loved me, but she felt suffocated, that the wedding was coming too fast, that she needed space to figure out if she was ready to be someone's wife. My name's Callum, by the way, and in that moment, I became the guy who didn't see it coming. I asked her what she meant by space. She said she didn't know, maybe a week, maybe 2. She just needed to not think about us for a little while. I wanted to argue, to ask what I'd done wrong, but something in her expression told me pushing would only make it worse. So I nodded. I said okay. I told her I'd give her whatever time she needed. Then she blocked me. Not just on calls, on Instagram, Facebook, everything. She said it was so she wouldn't be tempted to check in, that it would help her focus. I tried to tell myself that made sense, that it was healthy even, mature. But it felt wrong, like I was being erased. The first few days were strange. I kept reaching for my phone to text her something random, then remembering I couldn't. I told our friends we were taking a break, kept it vague. Most of them seemed confused but supportive. Her mom called me on day 5 asking about cake flavors for the reception. I realized Sloan hadn't told her family anything. I covered for her, said we were still deciding. I didn't want to create drama. But around day 7, I started noticing things, small things. A mutual friend, Dara, sent me a text that just said, "Hey, are you okay? Saw something weird. Call me." I didn't call. I was trying to respect the boundary Sloan set, trying to be the understanding partner. I wish I'd called. Day 9. That's when everything started cracking open, slowly like ice on a windshield. I ran into Sloan's coworker, Miriam, at the coffee shop near my office. We'd met a few times at company events. Nice person, always polite. She saw me in line and her face did this thing. You know when someone recognizes you and immediately wishes they hadn't? That. She came over anyway, asked how I was doing. I said fine, kept it light. Then she mentioned almost casually that she'd seen Sloan out last weekend. Said she looked happy, relaxed. The way she said it felt loaded, like there was a second sentence she swallowed. I asked where she'd seen her. Miriam's smile tightened. "Oh, just out, you know. Anyway, good seeing you, Callum." And she left. I stood there holding my coffee, feeling something shift in my chest. It wasn't anger, it was awareness, the kind you don't want but can't ignore. That afternoon, Dara called. Didn't text this time, actually called. She said we needed to talk in person. I told her I was busy. She said, "Callum, please, just meet me for 20 minutes. Her voice had this edge to it, careful but urgent. So I went. We met at a park bench near her place. She didn't ease into it. She pulled out her phone and opened Instagram, some private account I didn't recognize. She scrolled to a story and handed it to me without saying anything. It was Sloane, at a beach resort, sunset in the background. She was laughing, head tilted back, hair caught in the wind, and next to her, arm draped across her shoulders, was a guy I didn't know. Tall, confident looking, the kind of photo that doesn't need a caption. I stared at it longer than I meant to. Dara said his name was Tobias, that he was an old friend from college, that multiple people had seen them together over the past 2 weeks. She said Sloane told people they were reconnecting. I handed the phone back. My hands were steady, but my brain felt like static. I asked Dara if she thought it meant something. She looked at me like I just asked if water was wet. "Callum," she said quietly, "you've been on a break for 9 days. She's been with him for at least 2 weeks." The math didn't add up, or maybe it did, and I just didn't want to admit it. I went home, to my brother's place where I'd been crashing since the break started, and I sat on the couch for hours, didn't turn on the TV, didn't scroll my phone, just sat there, replaying every conversation from the past month, looking for signs I'd missed. And God, there were so many. The way she'd grown distant after I brought up buying a house, how she stopped asking about my day. The night she came home late from a work event and seemed annoyed when I asked how it went. I'd written it all off as stress, wedding jitters, normal relationship friction. But it wasn't friction, it was an exit ramp, and I'd been too trusting, or maybe too afraid to see it. On day 12, Sloane finally texted, "I think I'm ready to talk. Can we meet?" I stared at the message for a long time before I replied, "Sure, when?" We met at a cafe downtown, neutral territory. She suggested it, probably because it was public, safe from any scene I might cause. I wasn't planning on causing one. She got there first. I saw her through the window before I walked in, sitting by the corner, looking at her phone, completely relaxed. She'd gotten her hair cut, shorter, lighter. She looked different. Or maybe I was just seeing her differently now. When I sat down, she smiled, not guilty, not nervous, just easy. Like we were two friends catching up after a busy week. She asked how I'd been. I said fine. She launched into this whole thing about clarity and perspective, about how the time apart helped her realize what really mattered. She said she felt ready now, ready for us, ready for the wedding. I just listened, watched her hands move as she talked, the way she leaned forward like she was selling me something. And maybe she was. She never mentioned Tobias, never acknowledged the silence, never apologized for blocking me or leaving me in limbo for nearly 2 weeks. It was like those things just didn't count in her version of the story. So I asked, kept my voice calm, almost curious, "Were you alone during the break?" Her face changed, just for a second. A flicker of something, surprise maybe, or calculation. Then she recovered, smiled softly and said, "I spent time with an old friend. It actually helped me realize how much I value what we have." Old friend, that's what she called him. "Tobias?" I said. The smile froze. She set her coffee down carefully and I could see her brain working, deciding how to play this. She went with defensiveness. "We were on a break, Callum. We weren't together. I needed space to think, and he was someone I could talk to." Her tone shifted, like I was the one being unreasonable. "You're reading into something that wasn't—" "You asked for a break 2 days after you'd already started seeing him," I said. Not loud, not angry, just factual. She blinked, opened her mouth, closed it, then tried a different angle. "It wasn't like that. We were just talking, reconnecting. Nothing happened." I thought about the photos Dara showed me. His arm around her, the way she leaned into him, the sunset dinners. "Do you actually believe that?" I asked. "Or do you just need me to?" Her eyes got glassy. She reached across the table for my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't hold hers either. She said she made a mistake, that she got confused, that she loved me and wanted to fix this. And I realized sitting there that I didn't believe her. Not because she was lying, though she probably was, but because even if she meant it, it didn't matter anymore. Something in me had gone quiet, settled. I already canceled the venue, I said. She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. What? 3 days ago? The caterer too, and the photographer. I paused. I moved my stuff out of your place last week. I've been staying with my brother. Her face crumpled. You didn't even talk to me first? You were on vacation with Tobias, I said. I figured you were busy. The first week after that conversation, I didn't hear from her. I thought maybe she'd moved on quickly, found comfort with Tobias, decided I'd done her a favor by ending things. Part of me hoped that was true. It would have made it easier somehow. I didn't post anything on social media, didn't announce the breakup or explain what happened. When people asked, I kept it simple. We realized it wasn't right. We're not getting married. Most people didn't push. A few close friends knew more, but I didn't need to broadcast it. I wasn't trying to punish her. I just wanted to be done. My brother said I was handling it too well, that I should be angrier. Maybe he was right, but I wasn't angry. I was tired of replaying it, tired of wondering if I'd missed something earlier or if I could have done something differently, tired of caring. About 2 weeks later, Miriam texted me. We hadn't spoken since that awkward coffee shop encounter, so seeing her name on my screen surprised me. She said she wanted to check in, asked if I was doing okay. Then she said, I don't know if you've heard, but Sloan and Tobias aren't talking anymore. I hadn't heard. I asked what happened. Turns out Tobias had a girlfriend, not just casually seeing someone, an actual long-term girlfriend he lived with. Sloan didn't know, or maybe she did and convinced herself it didn't matter. Either way, the girlfriend found out, confronted them both, and it imploded, publicly. Tobias went back to his girlfriend, left Sloan completely alone in the mess. Miriam said Sloan had been a wreck at work, crying in the bathroom, skipping meetings. Some of their co-workers were sympathetic, but others had lost respect for her. Word got around about what she'd done, not through me, just through the natural grapevine. People talk. I didn't feel triumphant hearing that. I thought I might, but I didn't. I just felt sad. Sad that she'd blown up her life chasing something that was never real. Sad that I'd loved someone capable of that. Around the same time, I heard from her mother. She called, voice tight with frustration, asking why I hadn't told her about the breakup sooner. Apparently, Sloan had let her keep planning, kept accepting money for deposits, and only admitted the wedding was off when her mom asked about final headcounts. Her family was furious, not at me, at her, for the lying, for the mess. I started therapy a few weeks after everything ended, not because I was falling apart, but because I wanted to understand why I'd ignored so many signs, why I'd been so willing to make excuses for her. My therapist said something that stuck with me. Sometimes we're so committed to seeing the best in someone, we refuse to see what's actually there. That hit harder than I expected. I wasn't dating yet, wasn't ready, but I was doing things I'd stopped doing, rock climbing with old friends, learning to cook actual meals, reading before bed instead of scrolling. Small things, but they felt like mine again. 3 months after everything ended, I got invited to a mutual friend's birthday party. I almost didn't go. Part of me wondered if Sloan would be there, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that. But I'd been isolating too much, and my brother convinced me it was time to start showing up to life again. So I went. She was there. I saw her across the room talking to someone I didn't recognize. A new guy, probably. She looked fine, hairstyled, makeup done, laughing at something he said. She was performing confidence, and maybe she even felt it. I don't know. She noticed me about 20 minutes in. I watched her excuse herself and walk over. My stomach tightened, but I stayed calm. She smiled, asked how I'd been. I said good. She said she was glad to see me, that she hoped we could be friendly eventually. I nodded, kept it polite. Yeah, maybe. We talked for maybe 3 minutes, surface-level stuff. She didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge anything, really. Just treated it like we were old acquaintances catching up. I realized she'd rewritten the whole story in her head, smoothed out the edges, made herself the victim of circumstance instead of choice. I excused myself, got another drink, talked to other people. I didn't feel angry seeing her. I didn't feel much at all, honestly. And that's when I knew I was actually okay. As I was leaving, I passed near where she was standing with the new guy. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard him say something to another friend. She's great, but man, she needs a lot of reassurance, like constant validation, and she still doesn't know what she wants half the time. I kept walking, didn't look back, but I smiled. Not out of cruelty. I didn't want her to suffer. It was more like relief. Relief that I wasn't the one managing those needs anymore. Relief that someone else would learn what I'd learned. About a week after that party, I got an email from Sloane, long, rambling, full of apologies and realizations. She said she understood now what she'd done, that she'd been selfish and scared and didn't know how to handle her own feelings. She said she hoped I could forgive her someday, that she still cared about me, that she wished things had been different. I read it twice, felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no urge to respond. I closed the email and went back to what I was doing. That was my answer. Silence. Not because I was punishing her, but because there was nothing left to say. She didn't need my forgiveness to move on, and I didn't need to give it to feel free. I started seeing someone a few months later, casually, no rush, no pressure. She asked me once if I was over my ex. I thought about it and said, yeah, I think I am. And I meant it. I don't think Sloane set out to hurt me. I think she was confused, selfish, maybe scared of commitment. But that doesn't mean I had to stay and absorb the damage while she figured herself out. The hardest part wasn't ending it. It was realizing I'd been okay with being treated as optional for so long. If this story hit home for you, if you've ever been the one who walked away when it hurt, leave a like. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe because there are more stories like this coming. Here's what I learned. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't fight for someone, it's knowing when to let them go, and sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just becoming the person you were always meant to be without them.